Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Bookmas Day. For today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys all the books that I read in the month of November. My November reading was honestly really sad, to be quite honest. I only read 3 books and then more have listened to 1. So this is probably going to be a very short video, but I did see The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes in November, so I want to talk about that a little bit because I did read the book back in, I think, February. Stick around to the end because we're definitely going to be discussing The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and my thoughts on that because I have so many of them and I need to get it out somehow. So what better video than when I'm already talking about books? So let's get into it. Okay, so to start this off, the first book that I read in the month of November was The Vanishing by Maureen Johnson. This is the second book in the Truly Devious series. I think there's 5. I think there's 3 in the main series, but then I think there's 2 spin-off books in the series and I'm not sure how they're connected. I don't know if they're prequels or anything like that. Haven't really looked into it, but I did read this one and I gave it 3 stars. I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. I've honestly been a little disappointed with the Truly Devious series only because I feel like it was marketed to me as a book just like the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and it is in a way, but it's a little unsatisfying. I feel like the past 2 books, the first book and this book, left us off on a cliffhanger that I was just like I was just dissatisfied by it. I don't know if that's, you know, my own issue or the way that the book was written, but I was just honestly so dissatisfied with the way that the first one ended. I'm dissatisfied with the way that the second one ended. We obviously figured out some more information in the second book that kind of makes more sense from the first book, but I feel like it's still it's not hitting how I want it to hit how Good Girl's Guide to Murder did. And maybe that's my issue. I'm comparing the 2 and I need to stop doing that, but it's kind of hard for me not to when they have such similar genre storylines. So I don't know. If anybody follows me on Goodreads, you will know that I gave a little bit of a synopsis of how I felt about it. I love a good written murder mystery, but 2 endings in a row in the series that have nothing to do with what the entire book was talking about is kind of disappointing. Glad we found out about Dottie and partly what happened to Alice, but to have the main ending be the fire, somebody tell me this all ties together in the end. I am having a really hard time wanting to finish this series because there's only 1 book left in the actual main series. Like I said, I know there's 2 other books in the series, but I don't really know if they are directly correlated to the original plot line. I do have The Hand on the Wall over there on my bookshelf, and I do want to read it, and I do want to finish the series, but I'm just worried that if I finish it, I'm going to be even more dissatisfied than when I started, because 2 endings where it just kind of makes no sense, or it's just not satisfying, and I think that's what my issue is. Somebody tell me it gets better, please, because I am kind of dying over here because of it. Anyways, moving on. The next book that I read in the month of November, I actually listened to. It was The 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. On Goodreads, the review that I had was 3.5, but rounded it to 4 stars because I think once I get the physical book and I'm able to make annotations in it, it'll be a solid 4/4.5 star read. This book was nice to listen to in the car and gave me a lot to think about. Opened my eyes to concepts I didn't realize I could. Overall, highly recommend this because there's always something new that can be learned about ourselves. This book was actually really insightful, and it was so nice to listen to. I like listening to podcasts in the car a lot. I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks in the car, but I think I'm starting to change that because I think my whole thing is I just need to listen to like self-help books when I'm driving in the car. I can't listen to like a fantasy or a murder mystery. I tried that once with American Psycho and I listened to it in the car, and never again will I, because as I was driving there were points in the book that would happen, like I was listening to murders happening in the book as I was driving, so my reactions on the road, probably best not to listen to those kind of books on the road, but that was my own fault. So moving on. I really enjoyed the book. There were so many points in the book where I was just like, oh my gosh, like why did I not ever think about that? I don't know. It was a really nice book. There were definitely some chapters / essays in this book where they meant a little more to me than others. The last book that I read for the month of November was If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. I've been trying to finish this book for months, and I think in a previous reading vlog I talked about reading this and then I never actually ended up reading it. So I finally finished it, and I don't really know how to feel about this one because I liked the writing style too. It was very easy to get into. It's definitely more YA, so if you are looking for something that's a little easy to read, fast-paced to get through, I definitely recommend reading this. It's very fast-paced, moves along. There's really no like lull, I want to say. I think the only reason it took me a little bit to get through it is because, like I've said before, I sometimes have to be in a certain mood to read certain books. So for example, like fantasy books, I kind of have to be in a certain mood to read a fantasy book. I have to be able to sit down and pay attention to a lot of the world building, the language, the characters' names, because a lot of them are very confusing and it's just a lot of information to take in at once. And this wasn't a lot of information to take in at once, but it was definitely more of a somber mood kind of book. Like I needed to just sit down, be in a mellow mood to read it, and I finally did. Finish it when I was at my boyfriend's house. He saw my live reaction to it. I literally threw the book, just threw it. I gave this book 3 stars, and the reason I gave it 3 stars is because I kind of saw the ending of the book coming about, like, I want to say like 60-75% into the book. They kind of alluded to it in the prelogue too, and then they just kind of kept alluding to it over time, and it made it pretty obvious what was going to happen. So that's kind of why I rated it a little lower, just because I feel like if I can predict what's going to happen in the book, it kind of takes away the whole magical, like, finding out aspect to it. So I did rate it a little lower. However, it was still a pretty good book. I didn't cry or anything to it. Everyone told me I was gonna cry, and you guys know me. I love a book that can make me cry. There have only been a few of them. Six of Crows, Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Books that can make me cry have a special place in my heart, but this one did not make me cry. I kind of had a feeling it wouldn't, but it definitely did make me, like, sad. These two characters were pining after each other all of their childhood, and then neither of them even knew that they liked each other until, like, the literal end. And it's just so sad and disappointing, but it's like bittersweet too, and I don't know. But the end of it also threw me for a loop, because I'm not gonna say what happens or the very, like, shocking surprise ending. Some of the very end of it did kind of confuse me, because I was like, it was kind of like a palm to my forehead moment. So I don't know, but let's get into talking about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I watched the movie, literally watched it opening weekend, forced my boyfriend to go with me. He literally complained the whole entire time. Well, okay, I need to backtrack because that sounds so bad. He was like, what if I don't like it? It's gonna be so lame. And I kept telling him, I was like, you're gonna leave that movie and you're gonna look over at me and you're gonna go, that movie was awesome. He did exactly that. So my boyfriend's probably watching us being like, she's totally outing me. I've been a huge Hunger Games fan since I was literally in middle school. Those were the books that, like, really catapulted me into loving reading. Like, I read before that, but I feel like the Maze Runner, the Divergent, and the Hunger Games series were the book series that, like, catapulted me into the book genres that I ended up, like, falling in love with, and that's how I, like, really ended up falling in love with reading. So being able to re-enter that era of middle school Hunger Games, oh, it really just itched the right part in my brain, and I have so many thoughts. The one thing that I really liked about the movie, comparing it to the book, is that every scene in the movie was in the book. Granted, not every scene in the book was in the movie, and there were a lot of details left out, but all of the things that were in the movie were in the book. And that itches the right part in a movie adaptation way, because I feel like if you're gonna adapt a movie from a book, it really needs to hit the key points of following the timeline. Not only just following the timeline, but following the whole vibe to it, following what happens, the scenes, what's being said. Some of the things that I wish that they showed in the movie that they have in the book but they didn't was Snow's thought process of just, like, everything in his life. They definitely did a really good job of casting everybody. Like, I was genuinely shocked with how well the cast was portrayed from the book. One of the things that I wish that they did show a little more of were Snow and Clementine, is that her name? I might be remembering that wrong, but when they went to Gold's office and they were giving her the Hunger Games, like, assignment, and she was reaching into the snake tank, I really wish they showed, like, how her skin started scaling and how Snow visited her in the hospital and stuff like that. I kind of wish they showed a little bit more of that, because they left out some key details from the book. But like I said, everything that was in the movie was in the book, so I can't be too mad about it, and I feel like it was done so well. Of course, because I watched the movie, I keep getting a bunch of TikToks on my For You page about, you know, the movie and the book, and one of the things that people kind of talked about a lot was Rachel Ziegler's accent in it, so Lucy Graybeard's accent in it, and they were like, why is she the only one that has an accent? Like, they ruined it with a country accent. Guys, I'm not gonna say you need to read the book, but you kind of do have to read the book to understand some of the stuff in the movie because the accent is in the book. It's an Appalachian? I think it's Appalachian. I never know how to pronounce that word, so leave me be. A lot of people were really confused about the accent and they didn't really get the point that even in the movie it shows like the map of Panem, and it like even alludes to the fact that Panem is America. Some of the states were lost, and I don't think that people really understand that like the districts are the states. It's a dystopian book of America. So a lot of people didn't really understand the whole purpose of the accent. They didn't really understand that like District 12 is in the Appalachian Mountains and like over there. So of course a lot of them are gonna have country accents, and a lot of people were being like, oh well, you know, Katniss doesn't have one, and like yeah, she doesn't have, you know, an Appalachian or a country accent in the movies. I kind of wish they did just because it would make more sense, but I really do think Rachel Ziegler, I think that's how you say her name, really hit it right on the head with how Lucy Gray Baird was supposed to be portrayed. You guys also have to recognize too that like Lucy Gray Baird and the whole Covey, they don't categorize themselves as District 12. They are Covey, so like they were forced to be in the districts because they had to. So of course they're not going to be exactly like, you know, the people in District 12 because they're technically not District 12. So I hope that makes sense for like anybody else who decided to watch the movie but maybe didn't read the book. I highly suggest reading the books just because I feel like not only just like the original storyline but the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes as well. Reading the books and then watching the movies after just gives it so much more context, and then as you're watching the movie you can kind of see the scenes that are in the book and you can kind of be like, oh, like I know what, you know, those characters are thinking in this moment because I read the book. Reading the book and then watching the movie is so important. I am so heavy on that. I don't say that a lot, but like those movies, I really highly suggest reading the books first and then watching the movies. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie and I want to go see it again. I'm a very firm believer in needing to watch the movie like 2 to 3 times to miss the stuff that you like maybe didn't catch the first time around seeing it. So I definitely need to go watch it again because it was so good. I also just really badly want to go watch it because hi, I'm obsessed with Hunger Games and I've decided to re-enter my Hunger Games era. So that's gonna be my personality for the next like 3 to 4 months. So I apologize in advance. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Let me know down below in the comment section what books you guys read in the month of November. Also, let me know if you guys watched The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and read it because I would love to have an in-depth conversation about that whole series. You guys can also join our Discord book club down in the description box below. We can talk about it there. I will even make a whole like subsection in our Discord just to talk about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like I am this close to doing it. I'm not even kidding. So if you guys do want to talk about it, definitely join our book club down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye guys.
I used to take myself out on dates, open my own damn doors, pay for everything on my plate. Sometimes I'd even get the steak, cause I got it like that. Always had my own bag, never needed no man to rely on. Got 2 good shoulders to cry.